Hey Chef Christy, this is Diane, and I am just submitting my video to you for the project. So without further ado, here we go. My name is Diann Beaulieu. I am the owner-operator of Sycamore Tom and Jerry's here in Sycamore, Illinois. I have been affiliated with Tom and Jerry's since January of 1994. And I think a little bit about Tom and Jerry's needs to be explained. A lot of people ask if we're a corporation, if we're a franchise, what are we? Tom and Jerry's was started by two college guys. They operated that store for about a year and sold to John Pappas. This would have been in the early 80s. John Pappas then took Tom and Jerry's in DeKalb, operated quite successfully for several years, then opened a Tom and Jerry's in Rochelle, opened one in Sycamore, went on to open one in Rockford. Currently, I do believe there's about 8 Sycamore Tom and Jerry's locations, however, most are independently owned. So I own the Sycamore location, other people own the DeKalb location. There's a particular gentleman that owns 3 locations up in Rockford. I believe there's a Chicago location. But at the end of the day, let's just say they're independently owned. For us in Sycamore, that does create sometimes some confusion. Well, not sometimes, it creates a lot of confusion, frankly, with customers. We have tried to differentiate ourselves by always addressing ourselves as the Sycamore Tom and Jerry's, and we always try to let people know that we are independently owned. We are a sub-corp, so technically I guess we're a corporation, but the corporation consists of me as the president, me as the vice president, and me as the secretary. So discussions in the boardroom usually go my way. So yeah, I think the corporation, the sub-corp, was all for accounting and tax purposes, which is why it was set up that way. We have been in the community, again, for 40 years. I'll just start really at the Sycamore location. We have been there since 1998. I think we are an integral part of the community. I think we have been steadfast. We're there. We're reliable. We've always been there. We are very integrated with the schools. We're very integrated with Hope Haven, with Special Olympics, with Opportunity House. We do a lot with them. We wouldn't think of not being part of the community, and if there's community issues, we try to address them and be part of them and do whatever we can to help out. We feel we are part of the fabric of Sycamore, and we hope that the community feels that we are part of the fabric of Sycamore. In Tom and Jerry's, I don't know that we have really departments. I would consider we have a management staff, we have our cashier staff, we have our kitchen staff, we have a staff of delivery drivers. I being the owner-operator, and operator is key there. So I pretty much kind of head the group. I have 2 general managers, and then I have several, we call them supervisors. And then everyone kind of takes their part in whether we are dealing with the cashiers. My kitchen manager takes care of the kitchen department and his staff. And then we also take care of and supervise the delivery drivers. We probably have about 40 people. And I would say of them, there's probably 10 to 12 that are full-time, leaving the remaining 28 to 30 part-time. Our part-time employees are very integral to what we do. We always need a lot of part-time employees. That's been a little bit challenging in the past up until COVID. COVID-19 actually opened up a lot more hiring opportunities for us because a lot more, especially the high school kids, wanted to work. So if there's a silver lining of COVID, and I wouldn't call it that, but it has made it a little easier to staff the store. What type of education did I need to get into my business? I do have, excuse me, I do have a management degree. I went to the College of St. Francis, which was in Joliet, Illinois. I believe it's a university status now. I majored in business management. I don't know that I was planning on going to the restaurant business, but that's how it happened. So I think I certainly use some of that management experience that I got in college, but I think a lot of the management experience comes from just doing it. I think I learned more my first couple years at Tom and Jerry's as far as running a restaurant than I could have really in all the books anywhere. It's doing it. And I think that happens with a lot of the things, is that just doing something and being trained and shown the proper way to do things has certainly helped me, and just doing it has certainly helped my success at Tom and Jerry's. Perfect service. Perfect service, if I could figure out perfect service 100% of the time, I think I'd be a multi-millionaire, because then I would speak to everyone else how to achieve perfect service. Perfect service to me is that our guests are greeted properly, whether they're walking into the store, whether they're going through the drive-thru, or whether they're calling on the phone. But we need to be polite and courteous to them. We need to listen. We need to know our menu so that we can answer questions in a professional manner. I think overall you just have to treat the customer as what they are, and that's a guest in your home. Tom and Jerry's is my home, and the customers are my guests, and I want them to feel at home. I want them to feel that they are being properly taken care of. So we do everything we can to try and train our staff properly to do that. My philosophy has always been to hire nice, and that we can train the rest. And that works most of the time. So we have tried now we've just recently revamped an employee handbook so that everyone is reading and knowing the same thing, that everyone has a full understanding of what our expectations are of them. We do a lot of hands-on training with the staff, getting them up at the POS, again, speaking of cashiers, but getting them up at the POS, letting them work on that, see what it's all about, taking orders. We try to give them all the tools that they need. What are the 7 ingredients on a Chicago style hot dog, because you really need to know that as soon as someone asks what that is. You need to know what's on all of our sandwiches. You need to know what our signature sandwiches are, which are our Italian beef and our gyro. You need to know that everything comes in fresh, that is made to order. That's super important in business today, because not a lot of businesses make to order. So we just want our staff to know how we do things, and we want them to be able to convey that to them. I think in perfect service, I think I also have to include the quality of food. I think that you can have the greatest service in the world, but if you don't back it up with quality of food, again, we're known for our gyros and our beefs. So if you come through Tom and Jerry's and you don't get the perfect gyro, the perfect beef, then we're not doing our job. We try, while we have a huge menu, we want to do everything the best that we can, to the freshest that we can. We want our kitchen staff to be doing it the same way every time they do it, so it's consistent, so the customer knows what to expect when they come through Tom and Jerry's. I think the moment of truth for us is to have perfect service and the most perfect food that we can offer the customer. Again, you can't have one without the other. If you come to a restaurant, my restaurant or anyone else's, and maybe you have great service but lousy food, that doesn't work very well. If you come and have lousy service but have excellent food, maybe some people are more tolerant of that. For us, I want to be able to give that to the guest every time they come in. And when we can do that, that's when we all my management staff will sit back and smile and know that we are doing the best that we can. We are not perfect, and when that's pointed out to us, which happens, we want to make it up, to that guest, because we want them to know that, hey, we might have made a mistake this time, but we take your order and your business very seriously, and we want to make it up to you. So we want to do the best that we can to assure the customer that they're always going to have a good experience at Tom and Jerry's. Technology in today's world, I think we'd have to consider our point of sale system as technology. For many, many, many years, when you came into Tom and Jerry's, we had the menu printed out, and when you would order, we would circle on the menu and we'd write notes on the menu, and then that menu was placed on a bag or put on a tray, and that went to the kitchen. We stepped up to a point of sale system about 5 years ago, and that's helped a lot. It's helped with the speed in our environment. I think it helps more with consistency for sure. It certainly helps us keep a database of our customers, so if a customer calls in, we can pull up their phone number and we don't have to take their address every time that they call. So I think those are probably the technologies, if that's, yeah, I think those would be the technologies we use. We obviously are very integrated with social media. Not me personally. My general manager takes care of all that for me. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and Sarah, my general manager, does a fantastic job in making sure that our presence is known on a daily basis. And I think that's important because not necessarily to me, but it's the next generation coming up, and the generation after that is going to want to see that, and that's how they operate. You don't see too many people without their phone in their hand. So I think it's important that we stay, on top of things, and Sarah does a tremendous job with doing that and making sure our social media presence, I'm going to say, is probably one of the best in the area. And she works on that very hard, and I'm very appreciative because, frankly, then I don't have to do it, because it probably wouldn't get done if I had to do it. I don't believe we really have sustainable practices in the business. I think recycling, I'm assuming that's a sustainable practice, but other than that, that's really about all we do. Boy, as far as changes in the restaurant business, it's hard because now you have pre-COVID and post-COVID, so I'll try to maybe make this pre-COVID to start anyway. I think things are just, in my opinion, unfortunately going more corporately. I am a small business, and I try to do everything I can to support other small restaurateurs and small businesses. I think you find a lot of corporate stuff going on. I think people also are moving towards a I want it now type business, whether they're using all the apps on their phones to get their food delivered or order their food ahead so they can pick it up. I think that certainly is changing. I think that we are trying to change with that. We do our own delivery, so we don't have to do Uber or anything like that. But again, we're trying to stay up with, and that goes more back to the social media, of staying up with things. I do feel that things are becoming more corporate, and I think we're seeing less and less of, we call them the mom and pop, but the independent restaurateur. To me, that's sad. I think that you lose a lot when you get into the corporate world. No matter what happens, I think there's a lot of great restaurants that were born as, and I'm not going to name any, but that were born as just an independent, and then someone took them and made them a franchise or did a corporate, and you lose so much when you do that. And I do see that happening in a lot of the restaurants, and I just, again, I hope it doesn't. I hope that somehow we can continue to stay, and hopefully there will still be independent restaurants out there. Those are the ones that are working really hard. Those people who own that business and turn that key every day, are going to work really hard for your business. What do I like most about the hospitality business? That's an easy one. The people. I love working with people. I love working with our customers. I treat our customers as our guests. We appreciate our customers. I think you have to somewhat be a people person if you're going to be in the restaurant / hospitality business. I think there's times that you just need to smile and say, we're sorry, but let us make it up to you. But in general, I do love the people aspect of it. I like the fact that it's a different business every day, that there's no 2 days that are the same at Tom and Jerry's. There's probably no 2 days that are the same at any restaurant. Yeah, I get up in the morning, I'm there early. I try to give myself about an hour kind of time that I can clear my head, know what's coming up for the day, plan for the day, get the store set up, do our banking and our accounting, do any, kind of book work, so to speak, then get out. We bake our own bread for Italian beef, so that needs to get done in the morning, and I like to do that. We, again, get ready for lunch, see what's happening on the catering, if we do have anything that has been prepped or needs to be done for the catering. During lunch, that's pretty much all we do. We're pretty busy during lunch. Our afternoons, then we regroup what needs to be done, either for the evening or again for future catering business. We do ordering virtually every day, so that is something that we're constantly taking care of. We're constantly taking care of the restaurant, making sure that the restaurant is always as clean as it can be. We have an outside area that we have to maintain and take care of that. During the summer, we're watering flowers to make sure that we can make Tom and Jerry's a beautiful place to be. And we want it to always look good. So a day, there's a lot going on, and no day is the same, and that's exactly what I like about it. I would not want to go and sit in a cubicle every day and stare at a computer screen, but that's me, and this is the life that I've chosen. I think that to say, is there something I dislike about the business? I'm gonna say no, but I think there's definitely things that bring challenges to our business. I think if you talk to any restaurateur, you're gonna find that hiring is a really big challenge these days, especially pre-COVID. I know a lot of us were really struggling with trying to find help. And I'm not sure why, I'm not sure what some of the reasons are, but I can tell you that the struggle is real, and I feel very, very lucky that my base employees, my general manager has been with me 19 years. I have another manager who's been with me technically 14 because he started at another restaurant with me, as well as my kitchen manager who's been with me 14 years. That's unheard of in the restaurant business, and I'm kind of proud of that because I think hopefully that says that they enjoy working with an environment that I've created, and hopefully they like me, which would probably be pretty helpful. But I'm very lucky and super blessed to have these people around me, and I think you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. And moving down the ladder, they're only as good as the people they surround themselves with. So from our delivery drivers to our cashiers to our cooks, everybody, to me, we're all on the same level, and we all are an important part of making the day-to-day operations work. And we find that out when someone's sick or someone doesn't come to work, and one of the chains, and one of the links is taken out of the chain, then we realize how important it is to have a cohesive staff that comes to work every day, enjoys working with each other, and is working for a common goal. So again, I think, I don't really think there's anything I would say that I like the least. I think there's definitely challenges, and hiring would probably go into that challenge. I think you can't really do this at this point without addressing COVID-19. COVID-19 has been a huge challenge. It's been a huge challenge in our industry. We were very fortunate to have a lot of the things in place when they announced the day that only essential businesses, and Governor was going to put in a stay-at-home order and that only essential businesses were going to be open. I, in a million years, didn't think that we were an essential business. However, we are, and I found out we are. But we, as a management staff, met right away and tried to address. It was a very tearful meeting, and I will be honest about that because we were all very scared. But we tried to address and figure out how we could go forward in this new world and figure out, I don't know if it was a new world then, but this situation, and figure out how we could do the best we could and continue to operate. And we sat that morning and we made a plan, and we put that plan into effect right away. We were fortunate that we already had a delivery business. We already had a pickup business, so to speak. We had a drive-through window. That drive-through window turned out to be pivotal in what would happen in the last 6 months now that it's been. So we made the changes we needed to make, and we found out that we apparently were a very essential business because the inside of our business, I'll call it the store part of Tom and Jerry's, became very busy. And I always say that way because the catering part of my business went away. So I think COVID-19 really is going to redefine the restaurant industry, and I don't think really in a good way. I think the longer this goes on, I think we are going to lose a lot of restaurants, and probably independently owned restaurants. And again, I think that is very sad. But we've made changes that we think will help continue our business, and I know others are doing the same thing. I don't know where this is all going to end with COVID-19, but I do believe that restaurants are going to have to make changes. We again are continuing to monitor and change as needed, and it was an ever-changing world for the first 6 months, and I'm sure it will continue to be. I think to explain again, I think I kind of did a day in the life. It's just enjoy what I do. I enjoy not only the restaurant part of it, I enjoy the catering business. I think I'm going to go right into the catering part of it now. Catering is something that we started doing in 2012. I actually was looking for another source of revenue through Tom and Jerry's. We had just come off the recession after 2008, and things were still a little slow, so we started looking for another source of revenue, and that revenue was catering. We'd always done a little bit of catering, Italian beef by the pound, but not to the extent that we're doing now. And we had the opportunity to just get a couple breaks with some people who gave us a chance. And we started with a menu that was very small, and we started creating a lot bigger menu. We started getting into the weddings, which took a lot, and that's why we rebranded ourselves as Catering by Diann and not Tom and Jerry's. And frankly, because most brides don't want to say Tom and Jerry's catered my wedding, and I'm not offended by that. I kind of get that. So we rebranded ourselves as Catering by Diann, and we came up with actually a very large catering menu. We have a very large appetizer menu, as well as everything else for our dinner entrees, desserts. Sarah even makes bridal cakes, small bridal cakes, but bridal cakes nonetheless, does a great job with pastries. And catering became a very integral part of what we began to do and how we grew. And this year, for example, in 2020, we had 70 weddings booked, 70. And we've only done 3 because of COVID-19. But to take a catering business from scratch and then to have 70 weddings, I think was pretty significant. We are now the exclusive caterer to 2 venues locally in our area. We're very proud of that. I think that we had a lot of proving to do, again, because of the background where we were coming from, but we showed up every time we did an event with the freshest food. We don't take corners. We try to cook from scratch where we can, and it makes a huge difference. When we do our weddings, we make sure that either myself, my husband Tom, or one of our management staff, Josh or Sarah, is present at that wedding. because sometimes we do more than one in a day. But we want to make sure that if you've sat and talked with me and I'm planning your wedding, that I'm going to be there, or one of my management people are going to be there. We're not going to just send a bunch of people that you haven't met, let's put it that way. So I think that becomes very important. We are very proud to be part of someone's wedding. That's a very special day. Usually it's the most special day of someone's life. So when you've asked us to be part of that, that means a lot to us. And we're gonna bring everything we can to make that component of your wedding very special. And we feel that about all of our catering. If you've chosen us, then we want to make sure that we give you the absolute best that we can. And we stand behind everything we do with catering. Not quite sure where the catering business is going to go from here. We certainly are going to have challenges going forward, but I guess only time will tell with that. So I hope that I have answered and helped with some of the questions and some of the things that happen in the culinary world. I can tell you that I love what I do, and I wouldn't have done it for the last 30 years if I didn't. I think for those of you who are looking to go into the culinary world, there's so many different avenues that you can take. Please don't rule out businesses, like ours. While I think we're considered a fast food made to order, we don't get a lot of love from the culinary world sometimes. Whether it's a fast food stigma, I'm not really sure. But I can tell you there's a lot of great satisfaction that goes on with what we do and preparing fresh food for people and doing it in an efficient manner and being as successful as we've been. And I can tell you that this type of business, especially being in it the last 30 years, it has stood a lot of tests. When 2008, when there was a financial crisis and people weren't spending quite as much money, it was the full service restaurants that really kind of struggled a little bit and were affected adversely. Tom and Jerry's is at a price point that is still reasonable for people, and I think you can still feed your family very reasonable. So, and then you have something like a COVID-19 where we again are resilient because we are still at a great price point and we are still offering goods and services that people like. So don't rule out a business like ours. I know a lot of people sometimes want to go to the fine dining, and I understand that completely, but I can tell you this has been 30 years of wonderfulness, and I appreciate all the time that I've been able to spend in this town. I would appreciate the fact that Sycamore has shown us a great amount of love. The community definitely has shown us a great amount of love, and we hope to stay here for a long time. So I hope this is what you're looking for, and I hope I've answered some of the questions that you were asking. All right, thanks, Chef Christy. Appreciate the opportunity.